screen.
Oh, it is? Okay.
Spencer's just not doing it.
Whenever you talk, then you get on the big screen.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm just going to have to talk loud so that Spencer shows up.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. You probably won't ever be on the big screen, Cammie, since you're not using your own mic.
That's really okay with me.
You still got to hear her, though.
You'll
That's
have
okay.
your Hollywood debut. Okay, so, well, I did write-ups on all the chapters I've read up until now, but I only printed off the one for this week. I didn't think that we'd be talking about all three, but we could.
It's okay either way. I mean, Cammie and I did write-ups for all three, too. So,
Yeah.
And ours are digital, so it makes it a little bit easier to get to them.
yeah.
Well, mine are on my laptop right here, too. I just don't want to have to worry about going back and forth. So I printed them off. Marnie and I were talking. We're like hard paper type of people. Yeah. We need like in-hand things. But
we're old school.
Yeah, we are.
I understand. I'm not. I like the computer, but I do like paper, too. From my missionary days, I like writing stuff down, you know, taking notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Should we do chapter? Do you want to start from just this week, or do you want to start from chapter 1?
Well, we did chapter 1 this week and last week, didn't we?
Yeah.
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 It's been twice.
Yeah. But so what we've done is chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 16, chapter 18, and Appendix A.
Yeah.
That's everything, I think.
I'm pretty sure it is.
We can just talk and things will come to mind. But do you guys care if we start with a word of prayer?
Oh, no, I'd love that.
That's a great idea.
Okay. Who wants to say it?
I'll say it.
Okay.
Okay. Our Father in heaven, how grateful we are for this opportunity that we get to come together as a group and to discuss family life education. We're extremely grateful for this opportunity that we have to be in this practicum, and we ask that as we discuss these things that the Spirit may be with us, that we'll be able to uplift and educate one another and help us all to take these things and apply them into our practicum and throughout our life. We are grateful for the gospel that we have for our Savior, Jesus Christ, and we ask that we may be able to remember him as we do these things. And we say this in his name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Okay. I guess we should start at the beginning, right?
Sounds good.
So,
to make it easier, because I've done this a few times, we could all just take a point and just kind of go and then talk about it if you want.
Like the questions?
Okay.
We could do it with the questions and go over that together if you'd like.
Okay. Now, on my write-up for week 1 and maybe 2, I'm looking at them on here. I think I might have erased the questions because I did it like in essay format. Week 3, like right now, I left the questions on there because I thought that's what we're talking about. So I don't have the questions for week 1 and 2. So if you guys want to ask the questions, I mean, I have my thoughts on here.
Yeah, that's okay. So chapter 1 and 18 were together, and
Right.
I guess Cammie and I can read the questions if you want, and then we can all just talk about it.
Okay.
So the first question under chapter 1 and 18 is, as you read about the history of outreach family life education, in what capacity do you see yourself getting involved with strengthening marriages and families through FLE? So I guess I'll just answer it first. I don't know a little bit about Cammie and I, so we can introduce ourselves and answer the question at the same time. So you kind of get where we're coming from and why we want to do this. Is I've actually been divorced. I was divorced
3 years ago.
3.5 years ago, and I have a child from that divorce. And I'm a returned missionary. I love the gospel. I always have. But my ex-wife, she didn't see things that way, and we struggled for a while. And then at the end, she started doing things that weren't right, and eventually she left me. But that whole experience led me to really want to help people that struggle, especially in marriage, because I thought I had all the tools that I needed during that time, but it wasn't until I met Cammie, which was actually in the Pathway program. Oh no, that I really learned what a real marriage should be like. And so Cammie and I both decided that we want to be marriage and family therapists together. So we want to start our own practice. So that's kind of like why answers that question a little bit for me, is like, that's the reason behind why we want to help other people. For me. Maybe Cammie has a little different approach to it.
That's really cool.
Sorry, trying to get paper out of the baby's mouth.
Okay. Well, our daughter just got a hold of our family life education.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
And she won't get the paper out of her.
You got it?
No. There.
Okay.
Ta-da.
All right. Here, I'll take it.
Sorry.
It's okay.
So as far as being involved in FLE, let's move this further away from her.
Yeah.
I really see that Spencer and I are probably going to get really involved in that. And I know it's later, one of the questions later, but it talks about the different levels. And like, I really think that with our practice, we'll probably get involved in the third level. But I want to be able to help other people in both the first and secondary levels. Because everybody has problems. Like, I haven't been through a divorce like Spencer, but I still have my own things and my own problems that I brought to our marriage. And helping people understand what they grew up with and how to solve those problems, and figuring out what they need in their lives, I think is really important. One of the things I said in my write-up was that I really believe that one of the things I really like is the family systems theory, because I really believe that it doesn't matter what you do, everybody is interconnected in a family. So what I do with Gracie affects how Spencer can react to her, and how I choose to act for the day. If I choose to be angry, that eventually rubs off on Spencer. It rubs off on Riley, our son. It rubs off on Gracie. And it can change the mood of the entire family. And so I think that teaching people how to deal with their own emotions can help them learn how to then be better family members.
What about you, Marnie? Turn your mic on. There you go.
Okay. So my husband grew up in a really dysfunctional family with parents who were on drugs, drinking, not in the church. And so we grew up in the same little town, and like a mile and a half apart, but we were in two different worlds. And so he often teases, you were raised in the Mormon bubble and, the ideal family, which is in his eyes probably the way it is. But, I know that my family has our own set of issues. And so this family life education for me is important, because I know that everybody comes to adulthood with issues. Everybody's got something that they've got to deal with, or some set of challenges that they have. So I think it's important that we all know that everybody's dealing with something. Doesn't matter, how great on the surface everything looks. It's important to have patience with one another. So that's kind of my draw to how important, these workshops can be for one another.
Yeah. And then for me, I always said when I wanted to grow up, well, at first I was going to be a home ec teacher, but that's like totally down the toilet, because I don't want to do that anymore. But I decided as I was deciding to go back to school that I wanted to be a marriage counselor. And then I realized that you have to have a master's degree for that. And I'm not a young chick anymore. And so I thought, I know I'm supposed to get a bachelor's degree, so I'm just going to do that. And then as I've been going through school, I've learned more about FLE, and it just really appeals to me. And like you, Spencer and Cammie, I really have a passion for the marriage part of it. And it's not because I've been blessed that I haven't experienced a divorce, but I feel like the marriage is like the foundation of the family. And whatever relationship that couple has kind of leads down into the family relationships. And if it's a bad relationship, then it's going to bleed through their family. And anyway, so I have a passion for the subject of marriage as well. But, and the other thing that I think is really fascinating is I'm kind of a, well, I like to watch TV, but I don't do it as much anymore because of school. But I kind of have this, I love reality TV. And I was watching, I don't know if you guys know Little People, Big World. It's kind of weird. But anyway, I'm like giving you my deep, dark secrets here.
That's cool.
That's my guilty pleasure. Anyway, they had one of their kids get married, and they talked about how they went through premarital counseling before they got married and how they continue to do all these things in their early marriage. And I thought, for being a church and religion based that's so strongly on marriage, why don't we have something like that within the church? And not that I plan on changing the church's system or whatever, but I thought, I never, we have those classes for temple prep. Why don't we have them for marriage prep? I mean, that thought just occurred to me when I was watching it over the summer. And so, I don't know. I just think that being prepared is key in learning and teaching in all aspects. And that's why this FLE program fascinates me. But
in addition to what you guys all said, I like what you all were saying. I really feel, and I guess it's something on my mission. So I was somewhat raised in the church. My parents weren't always active, but they kind of were. They would go to church most of the time. But then when it came time for me to serve a mission, I really felt that it was right, but I didn't know, I honestly didn't know anything about the gospel. I felt that it was the right thing to do. So I went on a mission. And
where did you go?
I served in Sydney, Australia. And the craziest thing happened to me. It was like my eyes were open for the first time. I saw things that I'd never seen before. It was like, and I don't know exactly how to explain it, except where I really know that I was being educated properly for the first time. And so like what you were saying about education and teaching people proper principles, education can change your whole perspective. It's really just about if you are ready for that education, if you're prepared for it, if you're willing to accept it. Because when I got on a mission, it was probably the first time in my life. You can ask my mom. I was the worst kid in the world. I was so mean and so angry all the time. When I got on a mission, it was the first time in my life I was probably open and receptive to learning things. And then going through the divorce, and then he was 3 whenever we went through the divorce. He's 6 now. And watching my son grow, even through the divorce, he's such a wonderful little kid. It's like the divorce didn't even affect him, which I know it does a lot of other people. But I want to take the principles, and we really worked with him, and that's part of the reason why I think we have principles for success to help people, That's why, and Cammie and I want to work with everybody, not just married couples, but that is like the foundation of where it came from. So, but those are my thoughts. I could talk forever.
Well, it's funny that you said that, Spencer, and this is jumping way ahead, but one of my last thoughts that I wrote down that for this week was a couple of quotes that just really jumped out at me. And one was, we must grow if we are to help those we serve to grow. And also to stop growing is to die. And so I just love, like, those, like, just literally jumped off the pages when I was reading them. And I just thought, that not only do we want to teach others like what we know, but we need to be teachable still. Just because we get that degree, whether it's a bachelor's or master's or whatever, doesn't mean that we stop our learning and our growth. Life is a continuous growing process.
Absolutely.
And anyway, I just thought that was awesome. When
I had the same, I think Cami and I both, we stopped when we read that in the appendix and we were like, whoa. And that was the appendix A, I think, was.
Yeah.
That was really cool.
That is an amazing thought, that like if we choose to stop learning, then we will stop growing. And I think that's one of the reasons that so many professions have like continuing education, because you might come to the end of learning in school, but it doesn't mean that education stops. It doesn't mean just because you're finished that they're never going to do any more research and that you know everything that there is to know about family life education. And I think that's something that we have to continuously do, is look back at the research and say, okay, what else can I gain and what else can I learn?
I think that ties in with marriage in general. I mean, there's really, you cannot just say, okay, we're married, we love each other, and we're good to go. I mean, you can't, it's kind of, you have to continually work on it, or it's going to go and, it'll become obsolete. Like, so, okay, I loved you, but guess what? I'm not the same person I was, and you're not the same person. And if you're not continuing to grow together, then it starts to fall apart. And that's where people say, oh, we grew out of love, or, that does happen, but that's because they let that happen. It's not something that just naturally occurs. It's, you got to put the effort in, you got to work on it. And it talked about that in the appendix. Like, if you're not dedicated and really working, then things change. But I was in when it talked about the workshops and the different types of workshops, when you guys were talking about education, I thought that the workshop that Tammy and I are going to do is more of an interventionist approach. I don't know if you guys picked an approach for you guys. Did you guys do that?
Yeah, well, we created our own.
I think we're.
Oh, you did?
I think
that's
we're
awesome.
really eclectic.
Yeah, we're kind of eclectic, a little bit of everything.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I was the interventionist. I don't even know if that's a real word, if they made it up, but it's helping make changes, cognitive and attitude, behavior, and just kind of overall, just through education, helping people change. Because our topic for our workshop is, I can't remember the title, Tammy, what is it? The path to happiness.
I don't have it memorized yet.
Wait, we're still fine-tuning it.
You're really passionate about the topic.
We're passionate. No, but we really are. Because we wanted to talk about depression, but that is so depressive. Like, we did not want to go in and have a whole workshop about depression, because then it just gets ugly. So we thought we'd talk about the opposite of depression and talk about how to be happy. And happiness is a choice. So it's something about a path and happiness. I don't know. Tammy's going to find it.
It's enjoy the journey, a path to
Yes.
happiness.
There you go.
See, I had part of it.
Yeah, that's the title.
Idea.
Yeah, that's cool. That's
Yeah.
a cool idea.
And what are you guys doing,
Anyway.
Amazon?
Oh, it's really long. We don't actually have a name yet, but essentially, so
what we're planning to do is we're kind of targeting. We live in an area that there's a lot of low-income families, and so we're going to target those families, and it's going to be like 12 steps for a successful life, or something along those lines. And we're going to incorporate things like taking care of your finances, but also things like how to help your children when you're facing economic strain, and how to just kind of that similar vein of like how to deal with your stress when you don't have a lot of money. And
So-
we actually know a lot about that because we're college students.
Yeah. So our workshop is even eclectic too. Like it covers everything, but I guess we're specifically targeting stress and the different type of stressors in family relationships. So, and we've already broke it down. I think we basically have it all figured out. We're going to have 3 workshops, an hour and a half each, and then each one is going to talk about 4 principles and we're going to target different people, and we have a lot. We've been really working on it.
And if people want to go 3, then they're welcome to, but they don't have to.
Yeah.
Have you guys taken the, what is that class? The 360 class? The stress and coping.
Yeah.
We're taking it now.
We're taking it
Oh, you
right
are?
now. Yeah.
Awesome class.
It is awesome. I love that class.
That's too bad that you didn't take it like the semester previously, because you work on this Prezi and presentation the whole class and the whole time. And actually, Marnie and I have taken that class and we're pulling some stuff out of our Prezis that we did.
We actually took it together. I think we've had like 4 or 5 classes together.
You're right.
Yeah.
But this is the first time we've actually connected and get to work together in 2 of our classes this semester.
I know, it's great.
That's awesome.
It's great.
Spencer and I have taken every class together.
We've done every class.
No.
Really? That is cool.
So lucky.
There were 2 classes
That's awesome.
that I had to, he'd already taken a psychology class that I hadn't taken, and I'd taken math and he had to retake that. So
Yeah.
so that was the one class one semester that we didn't have the exact same classes.
That is
So
awesome.
Spencer and Cammie, you said that, so Marnie and I were at the class meeting when you guys talked about your workshop and everything. And in fact, we were the ones talking about our first idea, because we were going to do it on marriage, and she was saying how broad it was. So then all of a sudden during the class, we decided on this other topic. It was kind of funny. But
we were
anyway,
texting each other during the class. We were like texting while the teacher's meeting
Yeah,
was
we're
going
like,
on. What about this?
funny. We were doing the same thing, but we just turned our mic off and talked about it.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Well, Marnie's in California. I'm in Utah, so we don't have that luxury. But
No.
Isn't it cool though to have somebody? I'm glad you guys get that experience, that you at least get, because I feel bad for everyone else because we have somebody else to work with, you know?
yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's awesome to pull strengths from each other, you know? It actually, Marty,
Absolutely.
it's really important. Something you said was really important to me. And you were talking about marriages. Sorry to change topics, but it's on my mind and I wanted to.
That's fine.
But you said that couples have to work together and they kind of have to be on the same page. And something I experienced that was really difficult is my ex-wife, and I will never talk bad about her. I just state the principle. She would often say, love isn't a choice. It's a feeling. It's an emotion. And you have to go where your heart takes you. And so often I tried to help explain that that's not the case. That's not true. Love is a choice. You get to choose who you love and who you're going to stay with and how you're going to embrace that love. And that's part of the reason why I'm so passionate about marriage and relationships in general, because so many people just aren't educated and don't quite understand that principle like you did, Marnie. And so it really stood out to me when you said that, but I had to say something.
Oh, thank you.
So what's the next question we're supposed to talk about?
All right.
We might be here all day. We're not going
I
very
know,
far.
Oh, and then it said like 20 to 30 minutes. And I'm thinking if we have to do 3 weeks of studies in 20 or 30 minutes, that's not going to happen.
Yeah, no way. And I think
that we should.
we covered every
I think it should
topic
just-
in that one question anyway, so.
I
Yeah.
think so. I think maybe we could just talk about some points that were most important to us as we did the
Yeah.
reading for the.
I agree.
That's a good
Because
idea.
we have outlines that give our thoughts of what we think about each question.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So I agree. So what are anything stand out to you then? Let's just go through week 1 or lesson 1 and see if there's anything that stood out to you besides. I like that first question because we got to kind of know each other. So that's kind of nice. I have to say,
Except for I can't find my week 2. Oh, go ahead, Cam.
we were so excited, Marnie and I, when she paired us up with you guys.
That's really nice.
I don't know why, but that's awesome. Thank you.
Well, because we could tell you guys are active learners and you were at the class meetings and anyway.
I that's really kind of you to say that because it's awesome that you can see that. I don't know how.
Yeah.
For me, it's really true. Like both Cammie and I, we soak everything up and work really hard. So I thank you for seeing that. I'm excited that you guys are that close and are doing the same thing. That's really cool.
Yeah.
It's
Well,
nice.
Marnie and I have talked how we have had groups that we've clicked with and that we get along with and that are passionate like we are with learning. And then there are other groups that just don't get it.
Yeah.
And luckily I've had more of the positive influences and not the negative. But
We've had both, a little bit of both. But
Yeah.
that's actually a good experience for me, because I think you're gonna face that a lot in whatever you choose in your life. You know, you're gonna, like, especially with family life education, you're gonna get people that
Don't care.
they don't really care about what you're teaching, and that's actually one of the principles. I think it's the last lesson, but it talks about how you have to target the audience. But one thing that really stood out to me is that sometimes the audience isn't going to care about what you have to say, and so you have to find a way to market how important it is, and you have to find a way to target that. What I found is that enthusiasm and excitement make a difference in most people, and passion. If you're passionate, like, okay, for instance, it's just how I do things, but when I shared my story about divorce with you guys, I could tell just by looking at you that both of you were pretty captivated. When you can share a passionate a story and connect on an emotional level, it really touches the audience more. You know what I mean? And that's kind of like what marketing is. That's what we. Okay, so I'm jumping ahead.
Should I share
Slow
mine?
down, Spencer.
We can jump back. We can jump all over the place.
Okay.
So let's talk about that. Like, what? Because that's what I noticed too. I don't know. We can jump ahead to that. What did you guys think about what Spencer said?
Amy's got a really cool quote.
It's not a quote. It's an analogy I came up with. So as I was thinking about that same question, like, I was like, well, you really do have to market yourself to the audience, because a lot of times they don't know that they need you. And let's see, what did it say? FLE requires your ability to let the audience know that they need your product. FLE is not toilet paper. Although everyone may need it, they don't know that they need it. And because everyone knows they need toilet paper, but FLE isn't that. Like, people might need it in their lives, but they just don't know that that's what they actually need. So.
Yeah.
And that's what I've been thinking about the most, is like, that's where we have to figure out how to target, how to market. And there's got to be specific ways. I was the community outreach coordinator for a company called Stray Rescue. We rescued animals, and I would go out to schools and businesses and carnivals and everything and teach people about what we did. And one thing I learned is that there's people that care and there's people that don't. And I would look for body language, expressions, emotions, and a lot of times the people that did care, if I wore a Stray Rescue shirt, would come up to me and I wouldn't even have to do anything. But there were times where I'd have to really engage the audience. So I think that compassion and that empathy and that excitement and enthusiasm, all of it has to be combined when marketing. That's what I think.
Right.
What'd you think?
Sure, I was the
about money?
PTA president for my kids' school for a number of years.
Oh, cool.
I think it's really hard to, when you think about marketing something, you have to have your flyers concise, clear, and you have to be able to really get to the point quickly, because people are going to lose interest as you know, if you're putting too many words and too many explanations, and you got to really be concise and clear and direct, especially when you're looking for help. And a commitment, you have to be straightforward with it. So that's what I found.
Well, and Spencer, it's funny that you used the words in terms excitement, like you have to show passion and excitement. And you said a few times in the class meetings how Sister Buswell shows that excitement and passion for this class. So it gets you excited for it.
Exactly.
And I even wrote that down in my comments, because it's true. Like, if you're passionate, excited, doesn't mean that, like you said, not everybody's going to care about it, because everyone isn't. But if you have that passion, then it'll reflect through you and hopefully onto others. But the other thing too I found interesting about marketing is, it's like, I don't know if you guys have experienced, as moms, it's like sometimes you'll have those parties to earn money so you can buy stuff like Pampered Chef or Tupperware, or, things like that, And so you invite like, 60 people, and you're lucky if like 5 come, And not only that, but being in church callings, like Young Women's, you have activities every week. And then if the girls don't show up, then it's like, ugh, why did we even plan it? Or same with Relief Society activities. Maybe you plan an activity for the month and not very many women come. But I can see the point in making sure that the people that you're targeting have an interest of what is going on and what you want to teach them, because you want them to show up.
Yeah.
So I was in a singles branch for a while, and I can't tell you how many budgeting activities that they had. Like, and it was a need that that our branch really did have. Like, there were a lot of people that needed to know how to do budgeting, but they had one like every year to 6 months. And so they'd get like one person at this one and one person at the next one. And because I didn't have a lot going on, I went to like every meeting and stuff. And so I learned lots about budgeting, and it was always the same material, and it got really boring. And so like, I can see the point in not, because you don't want to just prepare a workshop and have it the same workshop every single time and be giving it every 6 months, because people will get, you'll get one person one time and no one the next time. And so it's important to like diversify and make sure that you're actually targeting those that need it, because the people that needed that budgeting workshop in my branch never came to that workshop because they were at their jobs or they were somewhere else because they just didn't even care. So
how do you think that, like, for example, your bishopric or whoever was teaching that budgeting class could have marketed it better, like to make it more appealing to those who need it? Because it's true. It seems like the ones who need it the most don't ever show up.
Well, I think that labeling a class, we're having a budgeting class, like that sounds really boring, and like it doesn't matter how you say it, it just brings that like ho hum kind of feeling. We're budgeting,
or I have no money. Why do I go to a budget class?
Yeah,
you feel like
I don't have money to budget.
I can't relate. I have no money. Yeah.
Right, but if you say
what is there to budget?
But if you say something like, "Have no money, come to our class and find out how to get more," people are going to be like, "I want to make money," and they'll learn those principles. Yeah. So it's all about. I really do think it's all about how you say things. Saying things like, "We're going to have a family. We're going to teach you how to deal with the stress of your family." Most people are going to be like, "Yeah, no, thank you." But coming up with different ways to say things really can change the way that your audience sees it and hears it.
So, okay, I'm going to step outside of the lesson material on this one. And from my experience, there's times, and maybe I'm totally wrong in my thinking, but there's times where, the reason why I served a mission, there were two men in my life. He was a bishop and a stake president, and I served a mission because I loved those men. And one of them came to me and said, "Spencer, you got to go." And that was it. It wasn't necessarily because I loved the gospel, even though I did. I just didn't realize how much I felt about it. I did it because they told me I had to, and I knew they knew what they were talking about.
My computer turned off, so I'll fix it. I'm going to be right back.
Okay. Well, so sometimes, and you guys heard us talking about how we're working with our bishop. He really wants us to talk to people that are having financial troubles. Well, he told me that one of the things he's going to do is he's going to tell the people that they have to come to our thing.
He's going to make assignments.
Yeah, he's going to make.
That's hysterical.
I know. Well, and unfortunately, I mean, I know that might not necessarily be the way Sister Buswell wants us to do it, but part of it is that sometimes when you're not forced to do something, but when you're encouraged strongly to do it, sometimes you may just learn something then. Now, if it wasn't for those two men, I can guarantee I would never have served a mission. And look what it set the platform for my life. I know who Christ is because of that. My life I'm a good person because of that. And I really feel, and so sometimes we have to be encouraged by the proper people. And our bishop is a real sensitive, kind man. He's not going to make them go, but he might do something like, you can't get your food, or we'll sign the food order paper while we're there, or something like that.
You're on church assistance. You need to go to this class.
But sometimes it takes the proper people to really strongly encourage and never be mean about it. But that's kind of what I've been thinking about, is like, I have people that I'm going to go to and say, hey man, you got to come to this course. And I'm going to say it in a real kind way, but I'm going to say, you have to, you don't have a choice. This stuff's important and you need to learn it.
So let me ask you this, Spencer, playing the devil's advocate. Do you think that they will learn from the class if they're forced to go?
Now,
you know what I mean?
That is a really good question. So it goes back to the person who's making them go, and them and their relationship. So for some of those people, if they're only there because the bishop told them to go, then probably not. But if they're there for two reasons, because the bishop told them to go and they want to, so you have to, the person inviting them or making them go, like me. So I'm going to invite my brother, who's a less active member of the church, and I'm going to tell him, I'm going to use the excuse that this is my practicum and he has to come. But
because we need enough people to show up.
Yeah, I need 3 people.
But he actually needs the principles that we're going to talk about. There's specific principles in there that he needs to learn. And I know he'll come because I'm going to use compassion, honesty, love. And I really think that when something's done with love, it's a lot better than like force. So will they learn? That's up to them. Yeah. But I feel that if I invite them out of compassion and love, that they have the opportunity to learn. So
remember, bribe them with food.
Yes, we're going to have dinners at each one. That was a really good idea. Or at least snacks, you know.
We're having dinners as kind of a surprise.
We've talked about it, but
we've talked about having food, not a full dinner though.
I want to have
maybe even going all out.
Yeah.
So like, we're gonna feed everyone and they're gonna come and okay, surprise.
Yeah.
You're gonna have 3 people the first meeting and then like 20 the next and then 50 the next time.
Yeah.
Free dinner.
Free dinner.
Maybe that's what we should put on the flyer. Free dinner, and then
that's
like
what
really
I'm thinking.
Small letters like we're having a workshop on how to be better.
But yeah, you know what it really comes down to is it comes down to the actual educator, I believe. It comes down to the person who's teaching, because I have this way of looking at the people that I'm teaching, and I feel that it's a gift, that I feel like the Spirit will help me decipher exactly what they need to hear. And so I feel like that the Lord will take care of it as long as we do our part in getting them there. So if we have to bribe them with 50 pizzas, then that's what we do.
And I think another thing that we have to look at, because that's actually another one of the questions, is like what do you bring? What are your talents that you bring to family life education? And that's one of Spencer's, and I think one of mine is to look at people and see that they're not limited to what they are now. And it's something that it really is a gift that I've been given. I think
what she's actually saying is that she just doesn't judge people. She can look at Hitler and find good qualities. Like that's what
he was a good.
That's
leader.
what she's trying to say.
But like I can see what people are trying to become instead of what they are, and I think that that's like a really positive thing, because there's a lot of times that people don't need someone to look at them and say, look at all these things that you have wrong with you. They need someone to look at them and say, look at what you could do if you did this. Look, you could end up here. So
yeah. And she also keeps
like you guys mesh good together.
Yeah. Thank you. I think so.
You know, along the same topic of, motivation and how to motivate people and stuff, we talked about being excited. But I think that there were 2 words that came to my mind when I thought of that question. And, we talked about the excitement part because that was one word. And the other one was challenge. And I think people need to be held accountable for the things that they learn. And we see that in this new curriculum. Well, it's not so new anymore. It's been a few years, but like in the Young Women program, how they're starting to teach in the Savior's Way. And now they've come out with the, for all teachers during, well, I don't know when your ward has it, but we do it during Sunday school. The teachers come and counsel together, and we learn how to teach in the Savior's Way. But anyway, I think that can be very helpful and applicable to workshops and the way FLEs work. But anyway, I was thinking that, well, the other word was challenge. And I think that people need to be held accountable for the things that they learn and give them a challenge or something for them to accomplish. So like Marnie and I talked about giving them worksheets and things that they can take home and do, outside of the workshop. Obviously, we're not going to have another workshop after. We're just having the one. But where you guys are having the 3, you could maybe continue on from the first into the second and then the second into the third, where they have to be accountable. It's funny because I was talking to my husband about this, and he's like, because I kept trying to think of the word for it. I'm like, PPIs, you have to go and be held accountable, and there's a word, and I couldn't think of that word, and I still don't think I got the right word. But anyway, he goes, I call it ownership. They need to take ownership. And so, I don't know, just a thought. Those are the things that I thought of.
Those are awesome thoughts. And in addition to that thought process, I've been thinking that, and I don't know how I do this. Like I said, Cammie keeps me in control because sometimes let's change the world. Let's do it today.
His things are a little bit too big, and I'm like, let's take a bite-sized plan. She
keeps me realistic, but
we're not going to get our PhD today.
But I feel like holding them. I really like what you guys were saying about holding them accountable, and I feel like if we develop relationships with those people, which isn't a hard thing to do, just make a friend, say hi, give them a hug, bake them some brownies, or at least that's what works for me. But for other people, I don't. We just have to kind of cater what we do. If we become And maybe we don't have to necessarily become friends, but we could at least become acquaintances enough to make them feel loved enough to talk to us about, what they learned and what they're applying. And I think a lot of it will really dictate on how we're holding them accountable. So if I come up to my brother and I don't ever say anything about the workshop after we taught him, then nothing's going to happen. But if I say, hey, what did you learn from that? Or what are you doing to apply it? That's holding them personally accountable. So I like you guys are, that was my thought, is like, do it yourself, but it's probably better to write it down or have them do like a survey, like you're saying, that type of thing.
So when I was on my mission, one of the things that I found was that if we didn't give some people something to do, they generally wouldn't do it. Like they could have the best intentions, but unless you made them make a commitment to you to read a chapter in the Book of Mormon or to pray about something, you'd get there the next week and they'd be like, yeah, I didn't really do anything, because they didn't feel like they had, and I really like the word ownership, they didn't have any ownership in what they were learning. And so I think that it's really important for us to give them that ownership and say, we're not responsible for you taking and applying any of these, making any changes in your life. It's going to be up to you to make those changes, because as we can teach you everything that we know, and it can be the best class in the world, but if you don't apply it, it's not going to help you at all.
Right.
Absolutely. Where did you serve your mission, Cammie?
I served in California, San Bernardino.
At the same time I was serving, actually.
But we didn't know each other.
Yeah, different missions, of course, but yeah.
And we lived in different states at that point.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
How
So
close is
I
San
just live
Bernardino to you, Marnie?
Like 2 hours west.
Is it? Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right, I have to go, but I wanted to talk about one thing that was kind of important to me was the security. I don't know if you guys felt that was an important topic, that we need to really protect and set up the security so that people feel safe. We're having ours in a church building, so I think that'll be pretty safe for people as far as like their physical safety, but emotional safety. When we're talking about, finances or self-reliance or even happiness or depression or whatever, we just need to make sure that we have, we set up some ground rules for each other and for those in attendance, but then also just to make sure that we keep their privacy. And we're going to be teaching 2 different workshops, 2 hours each, and mine are going to be my first one's to the Relief Society, and then the next night I teach the young women. And so, there's going to be a level of some personal emotions and feelings and experiences shared, that needs to be a safe environment so that they feel like they can really to share and to open their heart and to really, to really apply the stuff we're teaching them. They have to kind of open their heart up and get to that point where they feel safe enough to get to start learning. So
How do you think that we can make them feel safe? Do you think it's already a given because they know us from church and because of where it's at the church? Or like, how do you think we can implement the whole safety tactic and get them to open up?
I think the way we broke it down, having the women, like we talked about, the women and the young women, instead of having them all together, because I know my own daughter who would be in the young women's workshop, she's not going to want to open up about the struggles she has as a teenager in front of the other older sisters in the ward who could offer really a lot of wisdom, but it would be kind of that like uncomfortable feeling. So I think by setting that up and then just making sure that they know that personally I have struggles, or that we all do, like you're not alone. If you have feelings of unhappiness or depression or whatever, you're not alone in the world and feeling like that. And so maybe by expressing some type of, not divulging all of your personal secrets or feelings, but letting people know that there is a place where everyone has some unhappiness or something, so that they know that they're not alone and it's safe to share.
But it's like Spencer said, he opened up about his divorce and he shared something personal with us, and he could tell that we were drawn in. And so, I think that's what will help us with our workshops. And I don't remember what class it was that I took. They teach you how to speak in front of people. I think it was my family advocacy class, actually. And that's what they said. Like when you first start to talk, you share a personal experience, because then you draw the people in. And so maybe that's what we need to do. Maybe we all need to share a personal experience. But how are you going to show security? Because aren't you inviting other people besides just church members, or are you doing mostly?
Cammie and I actually are hoping to teach at another church.
Oh, that's right.
That's what we're going to go for. I have a friend that has different congregations. So I actually, what you were saying, Marnie, I really like about separating the group into peer, so they can relate. So they're with their peers instead of like a bunch of old women with a bunch of young women. That really, sometimes that can build barriers. So I really like that idea. Cammie and I, so because there's 3 different workshops, we have the opportunity to separate them from that. And that's kind of, the last one is going to be towards parents, and then the other 2 are for families in general. But we'll be able to separate it a little bit more by the detailed workshop and target the people specifically. But I also like what you were saying too, what Tammy was saying about how, in order to engage, and usually that's a rule that I have, is whenever I start any type of meeting, I always engage in something, doesn't always have to be personal, but something that can catch attention.
Attention grabbers.
Yeah, it's an attention grabber. That from my experience in speaking as a community outreach coordinator, it's always better to start by grabbing their attention in some way. And sometimes it has to do with like what I would do when I was a community outreach coordinator is I would share the experience I had of rescuing a dog myself, and about picking him up with blood all over me and taking the barbed wire off his neck, and then watching our doctor save his life and how it made me feel. And usually that type of stuff really grabs people's attention. So I like what you're saying, Tammy. You have to be able to connect in that way, but it has to be targeted specifically to the audience. So if you guys are speaking to young women, you don't want to talk about marriage, and how your relationship with your husband. So it has to be targeted. Right.
Yeah. And for us, like we obviously can't just start talking about like how our family finances and things, or like how hard it has been to be a college student and not have money, because most of these people aren't going to college, and so it's not going to apply to them.
Yeah.
We're going to have to find a story or an example from our life or from someone we know fairly well that we get permission to share that applies to them in their situation and shows that just like this person got out of it, they can do it too.
Yeah. I really like that you shared that, Marnie, because that also stood out to me was sorry. So was that our daughter was choking on something.
Oh no.
Another book?
No, it's one of her caps for her little fruit.
Oh, the applesauce.
Yeah,
Yes.
applesauce. Those
Well, and
things.
she was like shoving it further back in her mouth, trying to get it
She
out, like
turned
pushing
red.
it.
It was horrible. So, but I really like
Oh.
about making people feel safe. That really stood out to me too. So that's cool that you said that.
Cool. Well, I think we talked about a lot of different things. I think an hour on here should suffice.
Has it been an
I
hour?
think so.
Oh my
It
God.
has.
Yeah, it is.
Time
Wow.
flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, seriously.
So I'll stop the broadcast and then I'll post it on the discussion board. And I guess we'll just plan on seeing you guys in week 6.
Okay.
Well, if you guys need anything for
Awesome.
that, please feel free to contact us. We will help with whatever.
Yeah, if you
Okay.
have any ideas too, and we might do the same if you don't mind, like email you and
Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
Hey, we're struggling.
Well, I had a question though. I was thinking that these groups, because she called them, what's it called?
Consulting.
Consulting groups.
Yeah.
And so I get that we're talking about what we read, but I thought that we were gonna use each other as like a sound box or soundboard or whatever that
I was
means.
hoping that too.
I think we are. I think that these have to be recorded and posted, but I think we actually use each other for other assignments in this class as well.
Okay. Like,
So-
hey, look over this. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay.
And feel free, even if it's not that, you guys we can still do that because we love different ideas. And
Yeah.
we'll do that with you.
Well, ditto.
Okay. Awesome.
I
Right.
think that we
Thank
should
you,
have a
guys.
website or something that we can grab everybody's workshops off of this class
That's a cool
and use
idea.
them in
go
our
watch
lives
it.
if we can. Yeah.
I like that.
A
That's really cool.
resource-based website.
Yeah,
Anyway.
we could create one. That'd be
Yeah.
easy.
Yep. Okay.
Asked if they could do them on Skype, and she said no.
Oh.
Somebody asked, "Can I have people on Skype attend?" And she said, "Well, it just changes the dynamics." But there's some I would be interested in watching yours or attending your guys'.
Yeah.
So I think it'd be kind of cool to be able just to even watch it without interacting. So
Well, maybe we can record it. As long as it's not in the chapel, I think we could do that.
Yeah. Well, not even record, but you can also do like this, YouTube Live. And
Yeah.
and it records it and then you can post it for people to watch it. So
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
a really good idea. We should do that for all of ours. That'd be cool.
yeah.
that'd be fun.
Yeah.
Awesome.
All right, guys.
Okay,
Have a great
it was
week.
fun. See you guys later.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.